God, you're beginning to make me cry again. Well, thank you very, very much. Wow, it's a great, wonderful treat for me to be here with you.
We love you, Maurice.
It's a great pleasure and a great honor. Yeah. Don't take pictures of that if you don't mind. Well, I've got a fairly extensive statement that I put together and talk about the things that we're involved in. So, if you don't mind, that's what I'll do for now, and talk a little bit about it, and we could deal with anything else that we have to deal with in terms of questions and whatever else we have to engage in here. It's a big event for me. I was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives now almost 20 years ago. And it seems like about, half that or less than that. Time has gone by so very, 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 very quickly. And when I was first elected back in '92, I never thought that I would be here for 20 years. But that's the way it turned out. And I'm going to finish up this 20 years and talk a little bit about the things that I've been engaged in. So if you don't mind, is that okay? I can mention a few things. So first of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank you all very, very much for coming here today.
We want to thank you.
Thank you. And you surprised me, frankly. I'm very, very happy to see you. It's great to be here, and I thank you very much. So this year, of course, marks the 20th year that I've had the high honor of representing our part of New York in the United States House of Representatives. It's been the greatest privilege of my life to serve the residents of Ulster, as well as Orange, Dutchess, Sullivan, Delaware, Broome, Tioga, and Tompkins counties. It's a wonderful district with a great diversity. In fact, I first announced I was running for Congress 20 years ago at this exact location, the Senate House State Historic Site in Kingston here in New York. And as many as you know, I previously had the honor, thanks to the good people of Ulster County, of serving 18 years in the New York State Assembly, including 14 years as the chairman of the Environmental Conservation Committee, which was a very interesting experience. Dealing with the environment was very, very interesting and in many ways, very challenging. So never in my wildest dreams did I ever envision that I'd have such an extraordinary opportunity to serve my community, my state, and my country. So I have been, of course, very fortunate. My story is one of a kid from a working-class family who enlisted in the Navy after high school, returned to work in a local cement factory here. But I had high hopes for myself and knew that a good education would lead to a better life. So I enrolled in SUNY New Paltz, worked that night shift at New York State Thruway toll booth so I could pay for school while also having time to study at night. My father always had a love of politics, and I always became involved in politics, eventually deciding to run for the New York State Assembly. And despite the fact that only one other Democrat had been elected from that area since the Civil War, I gave it my best and was very helpful and very successful. None of that have changed, you know. None of that would have been possible without an education and without an undying love for my state, the region here, my cities, my towns, and my country. I hope that my story inspires many others to take up public service and to give back their community, state, and country. Despite all the turmoil, rancor, and pettiness we see in politics today, I still believe in public service. To me, there are few things nobler than a person who chooses to serve their community. Whether it is in public service, at a public agency, or school, the military, or even volunteering through a local charity, we need more people to choose those paths and become strong, effective voices for the middle class. As you all know, I went through a fairly serious health challenge during this past year. I can't help but laugh a little bit about that. During that time, I received an outpouring of support, and I am forever grateful for all the well wishes and prayers that I received. Such support helped get me through this. For that, I'm very extremely grateful and very extremely fortunate. This life-changing experience helped put everything in perspective for me. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day things in life, but this past year provided me with an even greater appreciation for my family, my friends, and quite frankly, my time. So I stand here before you today to announce that I will not seek re-election to the U.S. House of Representatives this fall and will retire from Congress at the conclusion of my current term. While I am very hard to leave a job I truly love, I know in my heart of hearts that now is the right time for me to move on. It's the right time for me to move on, especially in my age. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. Just 73, but you know. I am also very much aware of the upcoming redistricting process. I feel, frankly, very strongly that the integrity of the 22nd District, which had encompassed the same general area for 4 decades, should be preserved and remain largely intact. I make this announcement now out of my respect for that redistricting process. So, for all of these things, I send to you my deep gratitude and appreciation. I thank you for all the things that you have done, everything that you have been involved in, and all the things that you have done to help me be stronger and more effective. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Again, just thank you very much. I am deeply grateful.
Nobody can deny.
I'd like to introduce my daughter.
Congressman, what was the toughest campaign?
Pardon me?
What was your toughest campaign? Which was the hardest one for you when you thought you might not win?
My toughest campaign?
Yeah, it's the one with election night you went to February.
Well, it's interesting, you know, because here in this campaign, I've had 2 people engage in 5 campaigns. One involved in 3, and another involved in the last 2. So that has been a fascinating experience. And it was just very interesting to me how somebody who was engaged in this, and regardless of what the outcome of it was for them, they were going to continue to be engaged again and again, be engaged again and be engaged again. You know.
On the topic.
I'm sorry?
On the topic of redistricting, as you know from your time in Albany and in Congress, oftentimes when a member retires, his district gets divided up when they have to reduce the number as they do in New York. Is it your expectation, or do you think it's more likely now that this district is going to be hacked up because of your retirement?
You know, I don't really know. It's going to be a challenge, because if this district were maintained, it would have to expand in a lot of ways. You know, not terribly, but in some ways. Otherwise, there are a lot of other people in this state of New York, for many reasons, who are interested in just having this whole thing changed in different ways. So we'll see what happens. It's going to happen. This is something that's going to be regulated by the government of the state of New York, by the governor and by the members in the Congress.
Was that a factor at all in your decision?
Pardon me?
Was it a factor at all in your decision?
No, it wasn't really. That wasn't a factor in my decision. Frankly, as I said, when I was elected here, I never thought I'd be here for 20 years. And there were, last time, 2 years ago, and 2 years before that, I said to myself, you know, what are you doing? Maybe you're staying around here too long. Maybe somebody else ought to get a chance to come in here and do this. So, you know, but nevertheless, the challenge of this was so effective that I just couldn't move out. I stayed with it to do the kinds of things that I tried to do. And by the way, yes.
Can you comment on your wife's DWI?
Pardon me?
Not the child. Congressman.
No, ma'am.
How have you managed to stay?
A few people want to do a couple of one-on-one interviews with you, so it's quieter upstairs.
Place to sit down upstairs.
Oh, there is a bench there. There are some chairs as well.
Yeah?
Yeah.